May I begin by greeting you all, my brothers and sisters from the Gayatri Pariwar. I sit here today in self-isolation in the United Kingdom, but I've come to hear about some of the wonderful work which you are doing. I know how difficult it is for essential workers, for those individuals on the front line, and for those people who are vulnerable. And from my heart, prayers, blessings come to you, to your families, for the wonderful work that you're doing to help and maintain the lives of those people who most need it. I know that 5,000 centers across India of the Gayatri Pariwar are working very hard to provide those things which are very important and necessary in this current climate. When I hear about this unprecedented virus, the one thing that comes into my mind is, in fact, Corona or COVID-19 is not unprecedented. We've had pandemics, we've had viruses over the centuries before. What's unprecedented is the global nature of this virus. And this tells me that when something is global, it requires all of humanity to come together to cure this global virus. And what we see is this, that when I reflect on faith, there are two things which are important: our duty to the divine and our duty to humanity. And both of these two things are interlinked. If the purpose of faith is to take us to union with God, the most powerful thing that we can do is service to creation, savor. And that's exactly what I feel that you are doing. You are enacting the word of God, the image of God. And what you're doing is you're doing the work of God. So if we are, and this is a wonderful opportunity, if we are to see a new, one would say enlightened, one would say a new era of peace, it requires for work like yourself, that work which you're doing. It requires people to go out to share, to show compassion, to show love, and to show kindness. And today I can truly say that you, my brothers and sisters from the Gayatri Pariwar, are doing just that. You're showing love, you're showing compassion, you're showing the divine, all of those formulas which are needed to be God-like, and you are doing the work of God. So all I can say from my self-isolation in the United Kingdom at this moment in time is, please carry on this godly work so that it gives humanity a better chance to rectify whatever is required to rectify, but so that we can hopefully after this see a new era of peace, love, tranquility, and perhaps we can move on to a higher level of consciousness. From me and my community, I send to you this message of love, of blessings, of compassion and kindness. God bless you, and God be with you.
Namaste. This is a message from the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, universities and international organizations around the world to congratulate and to support all the great efforts of the Shantikunj and Gayatri Pariwar community around India. This is a difficult time of confinement for all of us around the world. It's a special time, it's a special opportunity. It's a special time because it challenges our way of living and makes us to be better. And it's an opportunity because organizations such as Gayatri Pariwar or Shantikunj, which has millions of people and 5,000 centers serving everyone in the most incredible confinement country of the world, the great India, caring for everyone, supporting everyone, selfless, dedicating so much efforts to accomplish well-being for the needy, to create an effort of support, and also creating this community feeling, this sense of togetherness, this sense of supporting each other in time of difficulties, which is in the very core of the spirit of this fantastic and so important organization in the world, which is Gayatri Pariwar and the Shantikunj University, which is in Haridwar, the soul of the Vedic knowledge. We, from the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi universities and organizations around the world, support and work together. And we feel always a privilege when we can share and participate in activities, because the great leadership and the great family of all Gayatri Pariwar is an example. And this must be the blessing of the Ma Gayatri, which is so purely invoked by all the family, which is, as we know, the mother of so much purity and love for everyone and caring for everyone. And in that spirit, all Gayatri Pariwar is setting an example and a great standard in the most difficult confinement that we are experiencing, and that represents the whole spirit of people that is living the spirit of Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinam and all the great ideals of the Vedic Dharma. And in this consideration and in this situation, we are reminded that our Maharishi Ji, the founder of Maharishi organizations, and Maharaj Adiraj Rajaram, Dr. Tony Nether, they dedicated quite a lot of time to the scientific research on Gayatri Devi and all the incredible correlations with modern science. From the Maharishi University in Holland, from all our universities around the world, we are in about 175 countries around the world. We want to tell you, we are with you. We adore what you are doing. We support you. And please come with us if anything we can do. And congratulations for the great effort. Every center, every person in every center, every of the Seva workers that is selflessly every day and every night providing support to the needed people and supporting so much the great plan of Prime Minister Modi in this situation to protect India from difficulties in health and create a condition for well-being for all. We can only say, Gayatri Pariwar and Shantikunj University, you are in our heart. We are with you. And together, what you are doing is an example for all of us. Thank you for the opportunity to congratulate you, to express our adoration to you, and to tell you how beautiful it is to see every day what you are doing for everyone in the true spirit of Gayatri, Shantikunj University, and the best spirit of the Indian heart, which has the whole and the very best of our mankind. Thank you very much, and Koti Koti, Dhanyavad, Namaste, and Jai Gurudev.
Dear sincere listeners, my respect and heartfelt greetings to all of you. Pranam and thank you to Dr. Chinmay Pandya from Shantikunj and the Gayatri Pariwar for inviting me to share with you some angles of how the COVID-19 pandemic can lead us to a new age of solidarity and unity. At this time of great challenge, of having to wear masks and practice social distancing, We are to find a response to a more inclusive viewpoint, which should naturally be a new orientation towards life. The starting point for each of us is based on our individual present circumstances, whatever they are, and this starting point is right here where we are now. Among the many challenges facing humanity today, the present threat of COVID-19, as you all know, is one of them, with unprecedented consequences worldwide. And still the greatest challenge seems to be within the human nature itself. Each day we may experience a quality of oneness and unity which lies hidden within the diversity and separateness of the outer world. The drama in which we are engaged, the dharma of humanity, is to unite this inner world of wholeness and the outer world of personalities, groups and nations that make up humanity. We can look at human history and at the history of our own individual experiences as a process of building a bridge between the inner and the outer, between the inner world and the outer daily challenges, between the sacred and the mundane. That bridge, that middle way, can become the way of service for us. For service is that which relates the consciousness of unity to its expression within living forms. It is a way of responding to the vision of wholeness. This middle way emerges outward from our inner vertical life, provided we are present, into a daily pattern of high thinking as well as loving and purposeful activity. Unfortunately, millions of people today share the belief that nothing really matters, that life is essentially meaningless. Far less people are interested in seeking and following their own inner wisdom, listening to their conscience. Everyone wishes a good life for themselves, that we all have in common. How we go about it differs. Some people are born with barely anything, others are born with plenty, and many are living in between these extremes. Each life is equally precious. However, too many see the purpose of their lives squeezing what they can get out of it for themselves, without caring for the consequences. The coronavirus all of a sudden has stopped people of all countries moving along their habitual paths. It has put nations in complete lockdown and offers a challenge on many levels with dire consequences for us as individuals as well as for entire nations. All thoughts and actions have consequences, and it is important to see how these connect in order to evoke the aims that we are wishing to manifest. All success arises through finding the right methods. It is a real test for our character and for our ability to deeper understand. Many people do not see any way out of the crisis and choose to look backwards, longing for past times. This is, however, no solution. The corona pandemic is a threat to our lives as well as to our way of living. But also it provides a unique chance to rethink, to feel ourselves again, also in relation to others, and start anew in different ways. When we really open our eyes and our hearts we will become aware of how detrimental self-interest is at the expense of community. This is becoming even clearer globally in this time of the COVID-19 challenge. A shared vision of working together for the common good of the whole planet, the readiness to correct mistakes that have been made, as well as comprehensive education for everybody, no matter what social class or gender. These are and will be increasingly important key factors in personal as well as in public life all over the planet. When the world threatens to drown in insecurity, violence and ignorance, as is the fact of these days, a new alignment has to take place, and that must be a spiritual one, free of dogma. So each of us will have to understand, step by step, that only through taking personal responsibility for our lives, for our families, for the lives of people around us, we will be able to positively change our circumstances. Right now, this realization presents a huge challenge, and it is a long way to put this into practice, especially on a broader scale. Patience and endurance are necessary for us all. There is a great emergency as an increasing number of people are suffering, and so many are losing their jobs, their homes and even their lives. It's obvious that mutual help on various levels is indispensable. All over the world, we see people supporting, caring, and not giving up. They are relating with dignity and selflessness in serving in new and creative ways. However, many more are needed to act and to care, to heal this global situation. For the first time, we might realize how interdependent we really are on one another. What happens in one country on the other side of the planet nevertheless might have a direct impact on the respective country that we are living in. We are all challenged to find out what really is important in our lives, for our families, economically, in society and within nature. This present situation is requiring different conducts of life and powerful healing approaches. We are to meet the demands of the whole. Instead of being preoccupied with meeting only the own egotistic interests. Therefore, you are encouraged to reach out, to make a difference. Please help where you can. Let your hearts open and turn to your fellow human being. Offer service, donations and other support, such as food and practical daily equipments. Many are in real need of this, and they don't know where to turn to, so confusion and desperation can take over. Each of your helping gestures represents heart and hands of the divine. Simply begin to positively connect with men and women who are sensitive to a similar impulse of service and support that you are. The way of service that we are thus sharing is a way in which we can approach that destiny that COVID-19 presents us at the present time. We are making many choices each day, and each and every one shapes our lives. Which ones are you making? Simply notice. Know that we are all the same in spite of any outer differences, and still each unique. We are all the same. Please don't make any difference between you and others. Together we can build cohesion through the feeling of compassion and cooperation as we are living our lives meaningful and simple. We can go slowly, breathe deeply, do good for ourselves and everyone around us. We can treasure nature and help it heal. We can become better people now. The inner middle way of balance and of centeredness emerges naturally and enables a realization that we in fact can work together with goodwill to meet the present needs in the community. We are learning right human relations through this growing sense of cooperation that are emerging and the willingness to sacrifice selfishness as we are working for the common good. The life which we feel pulsing through our veins is only a tiny part of the life pulsing through all forms, all kingdoms in nature, all planets, and the solar system. In the heart of consciousness and in the heart of matter, there is oneness. Through love, wisdom, and service, we approach this task. We are only a tiny part of existence, and yet there is a light inside each of us. It is the clarity of this light that makes all the difference in the world. Imagine that you start each morning contacting the flame of divine consciousness inside of you. Sitting in the silence of your own inner strength and uprightness, you envision a day of deep inner connectedness and purpose unfolding within and before you. Feel a tremendous power of peace that builds up inside of you, so that each of your words and each of your actions have a growing impact you have never before experienced. An impact to lift the energy into love and peace for the healing of humanity and of this precious planet we are all sharing and which is an alive organism that needs our utmost caretaking too. May we constantly choose a single goal of peace rather than multiple goals that lead to conflict. May we continue to be involved in a personal transformation process in which we are all concerned with giving and not about getting, trusting that what we truly need will manifest. May we continue to practice forgiveness and look lovingly on the present, for it holds the only knowledge that is forever true. May we awaken to the understanding and knowing that the essence of our being is love, and as such we are part of the light of the world. May we recognize that we are united as one self and illuminate the world with the light of the divine that shines through us. We are manifesting it through our thoughts and actions for the good of all. By introducing love, tolerance, helpfulness and understanding among all people, nations and religion, as well as for the benefit of nature, we become peacemakers from within our hearts. And we realize we are all beings of one Creator. We are all members of one big family. As we attune and realize, we will be able to learn mastering the challenges creatively that are put in front of us in humane coexistence all over the world. Through compassion and creative action, we together will be able to evoke and embrace unity for the benefit of all. May you joyfully be an active part of this transformation process, and may these words help strengthen and encourage you in these challenging times. Dear listeners, we are completing our sharing. Thank you very much. May you be blessed.
Greetings from New York. I'm deeply honored that Dr. Chinmay Pandya invited me to speak to members of the all-world Gayatri Pariwar movement, with its 100 million members and 5,000 centers in more than 80 countries. The principles of human unity and equality that guide your movement are urgently needed as we confront the physical, economic, and spiritual fallout of the global COVID-19 pandemic. I want to also express my respect for the Dev Sanskriti University, which wisely combines contemporary education with spiritual training, both of which are required for well-rounded human beings. We need those well-rounded human beings to provide balance at a time when so many malign forces threaten our world. But above all, I want to acknowledge Dr. Pandya, a great yogi, grandson of the founder of the Gayatri Pariwar fraternity, and one of the most humble and deeply spiritual people I know. As a psychiatrist, he specialized in working with older people. And because COVID-19 tends to be more severe and deadly in the elderly, that specialty could not be more timely. Chinmay and I first met in 2015 at a meeting of the world's interfaith leaders convened by Prince Ghazi in Jordan. Along with other colleagues, we co-founded Global Covenant Partners, the umbrella organization for Global Covenant of Religions. As such, we were committed to delegitimizing the use of religion as a justification for violence and extremism. And that too has relevance for this pandemic because it has spawned conspiracy theories which I fear will result in violence once the worldwide shutdowns lift. In my message today, this is one of the two themes I'd like to discuss, and the other is caring for the stranger and its spiritual dimension. I approach this question as a Jew. As such, I couldn't help noting the timing of the pandemic, just before the start of Passover. Passover is the annual holiday that marks the liberation of Hebrew slaves from Pharaoh's Egypt. In the Passover story, the deity who would become the monotheistic God of the Abrahamic religions speaks through Moses and commands Pharaoh to let my people go. But Pharaoh would not do it. Each time he refused to release the Hebrews, God let loose another plague on Egypt. It took 10 plagues before the Israelites were freed, plagues that inflicted terrible suffering on the Egyptian people. But Jews don't celebrate the plagues that brought the Israelites their freedom. Jews are forbidden to celebrate the suffering of others, even our enemies. Instead, Jews are commanded to retell the story every year, from generation to generation, to remind ourselves that we too were once strangers. Therefore, we must always care for the stranger. This year, COVID-19 swept through the world like an 11th plague. I wonder, will modern autocrats be defeated by this plague just as Pharaoh was by the 10 plagues of ancient times? COVID-19 certainly seems to have stirred widespread distrust in government. How will we emerge from this plague? More divided, or more united? One thing that can unite us is the near universal duty to care for the stranger. That duty is fundamental to Jewish law, and so is the duty to heal the sick and to preserve life. We're directed to do that through prayer, visiting the sick, which of course we can't do with COVID-19 patients, and taking care of ourselves so that we can take care of others. These duties are grounded in Judaism's core belief that each person is made in the sacred image of God and is worthy of infinite respect and dignity. But the overarching precept of Judaism is tikkun olam, the obligation to repair the world. And the world needs a great deal of repair right now as we struggle with this terrifying pandemic. Many of us are in quarantine due to COVID-19. It's an anxious time as we compulsively disinfect everything anyone might have touched, and then wonder what we missed, because that's the thing that's going to get us. I guess you could call this pandemic paranoia. But if we're scared, imagine how scared are the 71 million displaced persons in the world. Most are unprotected by either governments or their living conditions. Take Syria as an example. 25% of the world's displaced population is Syrian, the largest displacement of any group. Fewer than 10% live in refugee camps where they can receive at least a modicum of medical services. The healthcare infrastructure in Syria has been destroyed by ongoing attacks on medical workers and facilities as a weapon of war. Clean water is a luxury. PPE is almost non-existent. And how can people be socially distanced when they're packed so densely into urban squats or overcrowded encampments? So let us not forget these strangers. In 2013, I founded the Multi-Faith Alliance for Syrian Refugees in order to care for the stranger. We're comprised of more than 100 faith-based and secular partner organizations, Hindus, Sikhs, Buddhists, Jews, Christians, Muslims, speaking in one voice across the spectrum of religions. We've delivered $150 million of aid directly into Syria and the surrounding areas. In the process of providing aid, we were able to build bridges between sworn enemies. Israelis and Syrians rose above politics, distrust, and hate to join forces in order to alleviate terrible suffering. And that partnership for a period of time helped stabilize an entire region of Syria. MFA has also advocated in world capitals for more aid and more compassion for these war victims. But we live in a time of nationalism, in which countries have closed their borders and their hearts. Now, in a time of COVID-19, MFA is focusing on delivering aid in place: hygiene kits, soap, masks, protective equipment, medication. We've also been building tents with our partners on the ground so that the displaced can have some shelter. I hope AWGP will join the Multi-Faith Alliance. You're already doing such vital disaster relief work. Right now, there's no greater disaster than the vulnerability and needs of these war victims. Your enormous following around the world could do them a great deal of good. But there's another area in which your vast membership can do great good. That's encountering the voices of hate that have been amplified by the COVID crisis. Vicious and toxic conspiracy theories have spiked and spread through the internet. Jews, Muslims, Asian Americans, immigrants, and other minority groups are being harassed and outrageously linked to the spread of the disease. Here are just a few examples. An elaborate propaganda campaign claims that Israel is deliberately promoting COVID-19 in the occupied territories. Untrue. In fact, there is close cooperation between Israeli and Palestinian authorities in dealing with this outbreak. Another theory claims that Israel created COVID-19 in order to develop a vaccine, and if Israel succeeds in creating the first viable vaccine, well, that's to be taken as proof that it created the pandemic. Ridiculous. In an Oxford University survey, nearly 20% agreed that either Jews or Muslims were responsible for spreading the virus. Almost half endorsed to some degree the idea that COVID-19 is a bioweapon developed by China to destroy the West. 1/5 endorsed to some degree the idea that Jews have created the virus to collapse the economy for financial gain. and another nearly 20% agreed to some extent that Muslims are spreading the virus as an attack on Western values. In Europe, a lot of antagonism is directed at Asians because the pandemic started in China. Far-right groups in Britain are spreading fake news using backdated footage showing that mosques are still open during lockdowns and causing the spread of coronavirus. Not true. Almost 2,000 UK mosques are fully closed, and Ramadan has been observed in the virtual world. Nevertheless, one hears things like, Muslims are praying in groups, then driving taxis afterwards. Muslims are the enemy. Muslims off the streets. All over the world, these ignorant religious idiots are responsible for spreading this further. History tells us that pandemics with mysterious origins trigger waves of hate, along with waves of disease. In the 14th century, for example, the Black Death was blamed on Jews, and pogroms were unleashed against them. Extremists are using this outbreak to push their political agenda and co-opting coronavirus-related themes drawn from Russian and Chinese disinformation campaigns, the Trump administration's musings about the coronavirus's origins, and anti-Muslim themes from India's nationalist ruling party. These are all examples of verbal violence. Verbal violence dehumanizes the other. Once dehumanized, it's a short step from verbal violence to physical violence. We need to be prepared to counter the violence that's being fostered by the COVID-19 calamity. Hate is the opposite of what AWGP represents. AWGP has a vast network. In this era of social media, we must all mobilize our networks to counter hate speech and conspiracy theories. We must speak in one voice against those who exploit a calamity to divide us. We must use our convening power and communication networks to foster compassion and take concrete action to protect the stranger from both COVID-19 and the epidemic of hate that comes with it. Religious actors have a special responsibility to step up. Although the core precepts of each of the great religions are rooted in love, peace, and respect, it's also in religion that one finds the roots of hate speech. It's a form of group narcissism, the idea that one's own group holds a monopoly on truth. It's grounded in apocalyptic thinking that divides the world into the children of light and the children of darkness. But we're all children of light, who must be open to the light in others, especially the stranger. When religions unite, they can serve as the conscience of the world. And in that conscience, we must see to it that we treat each other according to the golden rule that all religions have in common. In Hinduism, it's expressed in the Mahabharata 5:15-17. This is the sum of duty. Do naught unto others, which would cause pain if done to you. Namaste. I bow to the divine within you. May we all bow to the divine in each other so that we can restore harmony in our world.
Atmiya Chinmay, brothers and sisters. Starting my message of solidarity, I want to say Namaste, because my soul honors your soul. I honor the place in you where the entire universe resides. I honor the light, love, truth, beauty, and peace within you, because it is also within me. In sharing these things, we're united, we're the same, we're one. I want to express my great respect for the Indian people, and also I want to remind you that Greeks from the ancient times had very strong links with Indians, involving the ancient Greek god Dionysus, who was called as Nysian because he had founded the city of Nysa. and he was considered the son of the river Indus. Also, the ancient Greek writer Megasthenes has written Indica, and the philosopher Pyrrho, who accompanied Alexander the Great, had developed his philosophy of Pyrrhonism in India, which was similar to the three Buddhist marks of existence. Furthermore, Indo-Greek kingdoms were founded by the successor of Alexander the Great. A subsequent Indo-Greek collaboration has led to the Greco-Buddhist cultural syncretism. There was the Hellenistic influence on Indian art. Since then, India and Greece enjoy close cultural and trade relations and collaborations respectively. For instance, in June 2019, the first Greek-Indian Business Association was established in Athens. Also, there is the establishment of the Indo-Hellenic Society for Culture and Development. Thus, a sense of solidarity and connectedness to one another has been created and established. Concerning myself, I have enjoyed tremendously the Indian hospitality when I was invited to give medical lectures and educate medical doctors in personalized and precision anti-cancer medicine, including nanosurgery, for the Northeast Cancer Hospital, a research institute in Guwahati, Assam. Also, I have been invited to the Dr. B. Borov Cancer Institute, which is a unit of Tata Memorial Anti-Cancer Center, Mumbai, and also in Ayurveda Super Specialty Hospital, which is an anti-cancer hospital in Assam. Also the Assam Don Bosco University, also the University of Science and Technology in Meghalaya, and finally I was invited to give a lecture in the Indian Institute of Technology or IIT in Guwahati in Assam. Of course, I want to express of how grateful I am for meeting the highly spiritual, very respectful colleague of mine, Dr. Chinmay Pandya, with whom we plan to establish an academic collaboration based on altruistic solidarity in his excellent spiritual and scientific university for helping people and educating doctors. In these unprecedented times, we must share a universal message of mutual love and respect, support, companionship, hope, and mainly solidarity, because without them, our faith will be dead. We'll be able to circumvent crises like pandemic COVID-19 with a spirit of cura personalis as a hallmark of spirituality, which translates from Latin as care for the entire person, suggesting individualized attention to the needs of the other. Also, the need for advocacy is imperative for helping the poor, weak, and defenseless people, especially the unprotected children and elderly. We must unite our efforts with deep solidarity, meaning that for solving our problems we must sacrifice many things from our ego and recognize that all of us, privileged and unprivileged, are in the same boat, trying to address and solve the problems of the world together and united. With the facilitation of our solidarity, we can become stronger, overcoming the most scary and devastating obstacles like COVID-19, normalizing our lives by achieving it together. We have to be working together for achieving the best of ourselves by focusing on health and safety for ourselves and our people. Only with solidarity we can defeat any unprecedented epidemic crisis while building a better world. For this, we have a great need for our God to bless us and shed holy light upon us and give us peace. Thus, it is the responsibility of each one of us to contribute towards a united effort in the best way possible, offering altruistic solidarity and support without any trace of selfishness for people that need our help the most, for combating every crisis, focusing mainly in children and elderly. According to the sayings of the astral figure of the yogi Gurudev that had been revealed to one of the greatest philanthropists and philosophers, Sriram Sharma, these are critical times, and there are great chances of mankind being grievously harmed, and overwhelmed by the forces of darkness. Thus, I want to make you a medium to help solve the problems bedeviling humanity. It is for this purpose that I have come to you. Similarly, I have come also as a professor in genomic medicine in the UK, teaching doctors how to perform personalized and precision medicine approaches for curing incurable diseases. I come to you as a friend, and I offer you my friendship, which according to the Greek philosopher Aristotle is very sacred, since without friends no one would choose to live, though he had all other goods. And according to the concept of friendship, also from the ancient Greek philosopher Plato, with the ideal state of Plato, the proton philon or best friend constitutes a cultivated virtue of the highest value, consisting of the idea of truth, goodness, and eternal beauty, including the third element of ancient Greek friendship, which is a solidarity reflecting universalism of brotherhood. Also, I come to offer you my contribution for establishing an academic collaboration, like in ancient times, where Charaka, father of Indian medicine, whose principles constitute the scientific basis of Ayurveda, which influenced with a Vedic knowledge through the Alexander the Great, the foundation of the Western medicine that was created by the father of ancient Greek medicine, Hippocrates, involving a very significant fusion among Indian and Western philosophy linked to medicine, whereas the ancient Greek Delphi method, a participatory consensus, resembled the method of Ayurveda known as Tadvidya, Samkhasa, and the Greek theory consisting of microcosm and macrocosm that was found in the ancient systems of yoga and samkha, which formed the basis of Loka Purusha, the 5 Mahaphuta, the 3 dosa and 6 rasas, which form the basis of Ayurveda as a system of medicine and philosophy, including the Prakriti. This is not by luck that in the beginning of the first millennium AD, the main active principal systems of medicine were Greek and Indian Ayurveda. Later, Greek medicine followed the modern science path, gradually evolving as modern medicine, while Ayurveda emerged as a remarkable holistic system, both in its foundational and fundamental ideas and therapeutic measures. Since Ayurveda is considered as a transdisciplinary knowledge system, which integrates its practices with yogic disciplines involving the indivisible meld between body and mind for its application as the basis of a way of life for the prevention of illness, promotion of health, restoration of vitality, and cure of diseases. However, although this medicine, which is one of the best in the world, has been for more than 5,000 years, there are some obstacles to circumvent before we use it in mainstream medicine as a major scientific discipline. Thus, the first obstacle is establishing a scientifically acceptable evidence-based medicine approach to Ayurvedic principles and practice, which must be developed by the facilitation of a systems medicine approach based on genomic medicine, including epigenomics, epitranscriptomics, proteomics, metabolomics, nutrigenomics, and all other multiomics for the medical validation and proof of the main principles of Ayurveda, including Mahaphuta, Tridosa, or Prakriti types, and their contribution to the body pathophysiology. That's an act of solidarity, if we can establish that, because it can help many, many people. Furthermore, the genomic medicine procedures may be applied and identify effective therapies in Ayurveda by correlating individual genotypes to clinical phenotypes of various disorders, such as non-communicable diseases, including cancer, cardiovascular diseases, neurodegenerative diseases, where my respectful colleague Chinmay has great experience in Alzheimer's disease from his patients in UK. And also we have diabetes, osteoporosis, etc., and communicable diseases such as infectious diseases, including COVID-19. We try to unfold the huge potentiality of Ayurvedic, me and my colleague, by trying to establish this center of excellence, educating doctors how to have the proper genomic evidence and use it towards a personalized medicine approach for each one of their patients, because the potentiality of Ayurveda is huge, and we have to unfold it as a solidarity act and help our people. Our solidarity efforts must focus also on Pragya Purana, eternal principles of happy, progressive and ideal life guided by the esoteric aspects of the science of spirituality, research directions involving the brain and neural tissue, cheerful attitude, mentality, physical health, emotions, child psychology, and mainly child protection and rehabilitation, especially after post-traumatic distress syndrome from deprived, because usually some kids, when they have been abused, they have this terrible post-traumatic distress syndrome, and it can causes many other diseases in the future for them. So my colleague and me, we will try to alleviate all these medical issues, so these kids, they can have a second chance in life. It is imperative to live believing and following the values of the three pillars of Pandit Sriram Sharma Acharya the Great, of spiritual and purpose life, consisting of Upasana, Sadhana and Aradhana, and the 7 areas of evolutionary development for a better, healthier and happier world, involving progress in health education, awakening of women, environment elimination of social evils, entrepreneurship, and we try to promote mainly spirituality, which should be the cornerstone of our solidarity effort, which must always aim towards the improvement of life of people by circumventing social, economic and psychological barriers. Thus, by pursuing a spiritual awakening process, we must exhibit our solidarity to all people by teaching and implementing the practice of affordable, humane, accessible, sustainable, preventive and accurate quality curative healthcare service, based on, for everybody, based on personalized precision genomic medicine approaches. Finally, our solidarity movement may lead to the development of novel and pioneer screening, preventive, prognostic, diagnostic and therapeutic approaches for communicable diseases such as COVID-19 and even another infectious diseases, and even chronic non-communicable diseases such as cardiovascular disorders, neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer, Parkinson, and many other diseases that they affect the neural tissue. They can cause dementia. They can cause many other complications, especially to elderly. And they are considered multifactorial diseases, so we can somehow prevent their development and even try to cure their symptoms: cancer, diabetes, osteoporosis, etc., for patients and their genetic relatives, extending to their communities, promoting this way the welfare of humanity. And we are going to do this as a solidarity act. Thank you so much. Thank you and God bless you. Bye.
Pranam. As someone who's had the good fortune to experience the hospitality, kindness and support of your amazing organisation, I just wanted to take a few moments to thank all the Gayatri Pariwar devotees around the world. I know so many of you are working tirelessly and relentlessly to support medical staff, key workers and all those affected by COVID-19 at this difficult time. Please do stay safe and well. Your organisation is an inspiration to us all. Thank you once again for all your hard work and dedication.
Friends, we are experiencing the most unexpected crisis since decades. This coronavirus pandemic is ruining not only the human health, but also the conventional lifestyles we are living and traditional values we are prizing. As a doctor, I understand that every viral epidemic is part of the nature, but what is happening now is mostly the result of the mistakes of wrong habits and wrong philosophy of consumism and ignorance of basic rules of physical and spiritual hygiene. Here in Europe, we hope to be in the phase of pandemic when we can start to ease the tight restrictions and lockdowns. But it should not be the signal that we can return to the old wrong habits and spiritual ignorance. It should be time of creation of the new culture, new spiritual and physical hygiene. Let's work together to achieve it. Thank you.
Namaste, greetings from the Lake District in Cumbria. We live in a really beautiful part of the world, and we wanted to share this with you in the midst of the lockdown and the struggle that so many of you are feeling, we too, in our communities here. We want to assure you of our prayers at Rose Castle Foundation, and we want to assure you that we are remembering you every single day. You can probably hear the birds. This is a World Heritage Site we live in here, and the land, of course, is flourishing despite the fact that the rest of the world is on pause. Possibly because of that fact, actually, it's flourishing. We have new lambs being born here every day. We've got new birds building their nests. We've got ducks here out on the stream, and many, many examples of abundant life. And as Christians, we feel that we have a God who is a creator of abundant life. Even in the midst of suffering, he stands at the heart of our suffering, but he longs for us to know an abundance of life and living life to the full. And so we pray that even in the heart of the struggles that you are facing, whether at home or whether away from loved ones, we pray that you will see something of the abundance of life in this season of the year, this spring season of the year. So we send you our warmest greetings, and we long to invite you to come and share some of this beauty with us, and we long to come and visit you one of these days. Greetings from Rose Castle Foundation.
हमारे YouTube चैनल शांतिकुंज वीडियो गायत्री परिवार को सब्सक्राइब करें एवं बेल आइकन जरूर दबाएं ताकि गायत्री परिवार की विभिन्न गतिविधियों की जानकारी आपको मिलती रहे।